be talking to you about U.S. military drones and their future. Before we begin, here are a few key terms to know. MQ-9 Reaper is the current mainstay of the U.S. Air Force's drone program. RPA stands for Remotely Piloted Aircraft. UAV stands for Unmanned Aerial Vehicle. UCAV stands for Unmanned Combat Aerial Vehicle. And USAF is the United States Air Force. Now let's put drones in context. Across many fields, humans are being replaced with AI that equals or surpasses them in skill and expertise. A recent article in 2016 by NPR featured 6 poems, several of which were written by humans and others which were written by machines. It was challenging to distinguish between the poems written by machines and those written by humans, making it clear that even the most human activities, like writing poetry, are being challenged by the advent of machines. But at what point does the replacement of humans by technology go too far? Now, the armed drones of the United States Air Force are a notable modern example of a partially automated technology that has created a significant amount of controversy surrounding its use. So to what extent is the use of UAVs by the United States to kill enemy combatants acceptable? Since the selection of the MQ-1 Predator as an unmanned weapons platform for the USAF in 1996, the presence of unmanned combat aerial vehicles, or UCAVs, has been felt around the world. Even though drones are dangerous tools that can kill civilians and stoke anti-American sentiment overseas, they are economically advantageous, effective in terms of targeted intervention and minimizing casualties, and ideal for an expeditionary military, making them reliable weapons that are often preferable to manned aircraft. Of all the stakeholders in drone warfare, the arms industry may have the closest relationship with the US military and government because the future of the business of war often depends on the cooperation of governments as potential customers. Another reason the military-industrial complex supports drones is because they eliminate much of the danger that comes with serving in the military. Because drones are unmanned, significantly more space on the drone can be used for fuel and weapons, giving it a combination of great range and firepower that few aircraft can match. For all of these reasons, the military-industrial complex is in full support of the drone program, and the power of corporations and the federal government ensure that it will continue. Although the military-industrial complex stands firmly behind the use of drones, the American public is not as fully committed. 52% of Americans approved of U.S. drone strikes overseas, according to Statista, a notable online statistics portal. When they were asked the question, do you approve or disapprove of the United States conducting missile strikes from pilotless aircraft called drones to target extremists in countries such as Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia? So that was the question. And 52% approved, while 41% disapproved of these strikes. Another study conducted by the Pew Research Center in 2015 found that support for drone strikes amongst Americans was at 58%. However, some academics, such as John Radson, director of the National Security Forum, a prominent think tank, argue in favor of drone strikes. Radson states that the taxpayers would want us to use all the tools we have when we're in a conflict, and that conflict is supposed to serve the American interest. In Radson's view, as long as it behaves within the laws of war, the U.S. has a right to exploit technological disparity to its advantage. The responsibility of the United States military is to keep Americans safe at home and abroad, and a part of this is using all of the weapons available to their maximum effectiveness. In contrast to these domestic viewpoints, here's a more international perspective on drones. Drone warfare is often barbaric. A 2009 article from Rolling Stone described the conditions and aftermath of a U.S. drone strike that killed 30 innocent Afghan pine nut farmers. This tragic event caused an upheaval of anti-drone views in the media and caused more opposition to American interventionism in Afghanistan. Unsurprisingly, negative views on U.S. drones are even more common outside of the United States. Only 3% of Pakistani respondents were in support of drone strikes, and even in countries that are considered to be allies of the United States, like Germany and the United Kingdom, negative views prevail. This data is not a surprise, as drones have helped the United States to remain the world's policeman. So what should the US do about its drone program? Looking towards the future, the US should consider replacing its armed vehicles of all kinds with unmanned vehicles. Its manned vehicles of all kinds with unmanned vehicles. As other nations develop and use precision weaponry like drones, they can learn from each other, and there will be almost certainly less casualties in conflict around the world, which is desirable for everyone. Even though only a handful of countries currently possess offensive drone capabilities, the effects of drone strikes are already being felt around the globe. A current event that demonstrates the ripple effects of drone strikes was the killing of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani in January 2020 by a US military drone, which caused international upheaval that nearly led to war between the US and Iran and caused the anti-American sentiment to rise significantly. Potential effects such as these should be considered when making decisions about drone use. However, drone technology does have practical uses for the average consumer. Drones do save lives in the military, but they have the potential to make consumers' lives better and more productive, although they still need to be used with consideration of multiple effects. In a similar manner to how the military's focus on jet-propelled aircraft during World War II led to the development of the airline industry and the advent of the jet age, the military's continued investment in drones may lead to innovations that will help many people in the future. So, excited?